Welcome to another of the NJAPM webinars. Today we're going to be talking with Jann Catto and Anju Jessani, and the topic is online and in-person networking. Before I introduce Jann and Anju, just remind everyone, if you want to ask questions as we're going along or at the end, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Do not use chat. Do not raise your hand. So Jann Catto is the founder and president of TLC Mediation and TLC Financial. Jann has an MSW and worked as a therapist prior to entering the divorce mediation and financial planning field. She's a certified divorce and financial analyst, mediator, and a collaborative law specialist with offices in Wyckoff and Red Bank. Anju Jessani is an accredited professional mediator. She served on the NJAPM board for over 10 years, including as president from 2005 to 2007. She has an MBA in finance and marketing and previously worked in banking. She operates divorce with dignity mediation services as a solo practitioner with offices in Hoboken and Clinton. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Carl.
Let me start with you, Anju. When did you start mediating?
So I started mediating in 1997, and this is what I do full time. I don't have any other business apart from divorce mediation.
Okay, so there was no online networking in 1997. So let's talk about what was in-person networking groups like in 1997. Were there any, and which ones did you belong to?
So when I started my practice, I had joined the Hudson Chamber of Commerce and the Hoboken Chamber of Commerce, and where I started my practice. And I was also involved with NJAPM, which I consider also a networking group. And I had joined Association for Conflict Resolution and some of the other mediation associations, but I wasn't actively involved with them. So that's where I started. I'm still with NJAPM. I'm no longer with the Hoboken or Hudson Chamber of Commerce, but I'm involved with other groups now. And so what are the meetings aren't that different from, you know, I mean, an in-person meeting is in-person meeting. Everyone introduces themselves. You usually do a 30-second elevator speech. There's usually some type of presentation, some type of business exchange. Sometimes there's a social event. Sometimes there's a business presentation from some type of local leader. And usually you get to do a presentation in the group as well.
And then when did you start adding to your networking groups?
Well, you know, you do it in any networking, you try something for, and I usually say 2 years, and you see whether it's meeting your goals. And sometimes your goals can be different. It's not just about leads or business. It could be developing contacts. It could be developing your professional expertise. But if you're not feeling like whatever metric you're using, you're achieving that, then you leave. And so over a period of time, I didn't find that networking in Hudson County was that effective. And so I stopped doing that, but I did other things. And I had joined, for instance, the Clinton BNI group about 10 years ago. I did that for 2 years. And I thought that was really great, but it wasn't really over the long term a business generator. It was good for meeting people professionally. People know my name, establishing your brand locally. But over the long term, I really just wasn't getting business. So I dropped that, but I am very involved with a group called Business Women's Networking. And that I find I get referrals from. I also get business contacts from. So I've continued to do that in the Hunterdon area, because I'm finding that when you network, you've got to network locally. With Zoom, it's going to be different, but I get my business locally. So, but I'm also involved continually with NJAPM, and I go to the Hunterdon peer group. I do something called video socials, a couple of other NJAPM people involved, where we make videos that you post online. I'm not really in that to get business. I'm there for different reasons. So I always think you have to figure out why you're there. I'm involved with the Wharton Alumni Group, and I do get some business from that as well. I'm involved with the Clinton Guild, which is in a sense, the equivalent of the Chamber of Commerce in Clinton, but I'm finding that out here in Hunterdon, there's a lot more networking from business associations, Chamber of Commerce, than there was in Hudson. It's a different area. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, but I think the most important thing is to have consistency. You can't go to a meeting once and think you're going to get business. You have to keep going, and you have to build relationships. You have to think of it as a mutual gain. It's not just you getting that quick hit. You're also making referrals. You're also using people like realtors and business appraisers for your business. So it's really the win-win.
Okay. Jann, when did you start mediating?
So I've been in the divorce business for 20 years. I got involved in divorce from a financial planning and insurance perspective as a single mom when I first got divorced. And then I became more and more specialized in working in divorce. I became a certified divorce financial analyst about 10 years ago. And then it was really those clients that started kind of asking me to mediate. And I thought, I really need to get mediation trained. So then I went to mediation training. I think now it's about 5 years ago. And yeah, so I tell people I've been working before, during, and after divorce for the last 20 years.
Okay. So which networking groups did you start with or join when you became a mediator?
So when I first became a mediator, I joined this organization. Ken Newman was my trainer and he told me about it. And then I'm very involved in networking in both Bergen County and Monmouth County. When I opened a second office in Monmouth County 4 years ago, I didn't know anybody in the county except for my realtor. So I didn't have any clients there. So I just went to networking events morning, noon, and night. I started my own networking group in Red Bank on Monday afternoons. I joined a BNI group in Monmouth County. I'm now the president of that group. I am also pretty actively involved in the Ridgewood Chamber in Bergen County. I'm part of the National Association of Divorce Professionals. I signed up for the Association of Professional Family Mediators actually during COVID because I thought that some of the things that they were putting out virtually were really good. I'm part of the Jersey Shore Collaborative Law Group. I'm a part of a bunch of women's groups, and a friend of mine has a group that he does every other Thursday in Monmouth County, and I attend that. I found through COVID that it's opened up a lot of opportunity for me to be in two places at the same time, which I was never able to do. So if the networking groups were going on when I was in my Red Bank office that I wanted to go to in Bergen County, I couldn't really do it, and vice versa. But now I can be in a networking meeting at 7 a.m. in Red Bank and then be in a Bergen County meeting at 9 without having to get in my car. So I've actually been able to really do more networking in both places at the same time since it's all virtual.
You do a lot of networking. A lot of how many networking groups in total do you think there
are? Probably about 10.
10. That must take how much of your time each week?
Well, the one that's taking the most time is the BNI chapter that I'm the president of. That's every Tuesday morning at 7. We've never missed a meeting. We went right from face-to-face to virtual. That's definitely the most time consuming, plus because I'm the president, I'm running the meeting. So it's like a little bit more preparation time. But I do think that, similar to what Anju said, you have to be consistent and people really have to get to know you. The other piece of it that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to is it's got to be more than just your 60 seconds at the networking meeting. You have to set up one-on-ones outside of the meeting to really get to know people, which used to be meeting for coffee, meeting for lunch. Sometimes now I just need a break from the screen and I'll do a one-on-one on the phone with somebody from the group because you really need to get to know each other in a deeper level. But when I moved to Monmouth County, I didn't know anybody. So I also needed to do networking because I needed to build up my resources. I needed to find review attorneys there. I needed to find people that assist us in the divorce process. So I was looking for resources from them just as much as I was hoping to get my name out. But my Red Bank office is even busier than Wyckoff. So I think, the networking and getting to know a lot of people there really helped.
So how much business do you think you get from BMI?
From BNI, I've been very disappointed in that, but I was in a similar group in Ridgewood when I first opened my office in Wyckoff, and we met every Tuesday morning, and I was getting 3 to 4 referrals a week from that group. Very similar format.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, I'm not sure why this particular BNI group I'm in is not giving me the same results, but I also am finding that when I first started in business 20 years ago, it was a lot more about networking, and I'm finding today it's a lot more about SEO, searches, Google reviews. I'm finding that more of my business is coming from that, even though I still get referrals from centers of influences and people I've met out and about in networking, as well as previous clients. I'm finding that most of the new business is coming from Google searches.
Okay. Anju, what was your experience with BMI?
So Business Networking International is a very leads-driven meeting. I don't know if people haven't gone, you can go as a guest or you can go as a substitute, but you have to go, and you're committing to go from 7 to 8:30 every week. So it's a huge commitment of time. And the people who do well in BNI are the plumbers, the handymen, the realtors, the people need on a regular basis. When you're in a more esoteric business, such as divorce mediation, timing is a big deal. And the other part is you're not just relying on people in the group for leads or referrals, you're relying on them talking to their friends. And so what I found is that women talk to their women friends about their divorce, but guys can be with other guys and they're talking about the sports team, but they're not going to tell their best buddy they're going through a divorce, because men don't talk about personal issues. And so my experience also with BNI is that I got conflicted out of doing cases for people who were members of the group, because I'd had these one-on-one meetings with them. You develop a relationship and you're almost conflicted out of being their mediator when it comes to their divorce. So I thought it was great. I mean, the guy who removed my oil tank was a BNI member. People who repaired our roof are from BNI. I met lawyers I refer to. And for me, I started with BNI when I started my Hunterdon area office. So it's great when you're starting to just meet other professionals, establish your brand in the area. But I just didn't think it was great for my particular business. I think if you're a family law attorney, I think it's a better proposition. I think if you're a therapist, it's a good proposition, although you have to question whether or not you want to be having a client in the group that you're seeing every week as well at a meeting. Right. So, but BNI is a great, LATIP is similar. There are lots of these kind of weekly groups that are really great for you, especially if you're starting, because they establish, I'm a mediator, you're saying it every week. So if you have to convince yourself, this is what I do, which is a lot of times what you're doing when you're changing professions, you get to do that. You're saying it 52 weeks a year, you're going to believe you're a divorce mediator by the end of that year.
Jann,
Carl, if I could just add one thing.
Yes.
Beyond the groups, I think networking with attorneys, therapists, those sort of things, having lunch or having one-on-ones with people that aren't necessarily in a networking group with you is also crucial, because once, an attorney knows you, like it was helpful to me that I was already in the divorce business when I became a mediator, because I just sent an announcement out to my database saying TLC is now offering mediation, and 2 lawyers gave me cases the next day because they already knew me from being in the divorce world as an insurance agent and financial planner.
Okay, so why don't rank your what you think is more valuable in terms of generating business? Would it be one-on-one networking, or would it be networking groups?
I think you have to do it all. I think you have to do it all.
Right, but let's say you have a limited amount of time and you're going to devote some time to more time to this or that, would you say I would do it in person, or would I do it in a networking group?
I don't think most people are going to get business just from going to a meeting once a week for an hour. So if you're going to take that route, you're also going to have the time to do the one-on-ones with the people that you meet at that networking group. If you feel like that isn't helpful to you, then or you don't want to devote that much time, then yeah, try to find some therapists in your area or some lawyers in your area, and you see if you can get them to go to lunch or do a Zoom call. And I mean, in those situations, those people give you repeated business, right? So if you establish a relationship with another divorce professional who really likes you and trusts you, they're going to think of you often and send you business on a regular basis of repeating.
Anju, the same question. Which do you think is more important?
I think I agree with Jann that if you're going to pick one, do the individual networking, because this idea that you're going to throw darts at this board and you're going to get business is a question. I think Jann is correct. Think about an attorney who refers business to their mediators. They have their list of mediators they send to regularly. And now you're coming and saying, hey, you know, I'd like you to consider me. They've got their tried and true, and you're coming in as an unknown. And especially for that first case, they're going to have to feel very comfortable that they're taking a risk with their client when they've got this tried and true other 3 people that they use regularly. And so you really got to show your expertise, show that you're a good listener, show that, you know, I mean, I've had attorneys say, we don't want you to come and sing Kumbaya. They really want you to be more directive than facilitative. So you've got to figure out what they're looking for as well, and adjust your style for them. So it takes a lot for someone to switch or add someone new to their referral list. And that's what you want to be on. You know, most people who make referrals are not just making it to one person, they're providing this kind of pre-screened list. But you've got to enjoy it too. I mean, if you don't enjoy it and you go, you're wasting your time. Pick out the thing you enjoy as well, because I for instance, I'm very friendly with an attorney, a social worker in my area, and she's good at one-on-ones, but she's very uncomfortable going to a BNI or other networking event, and she becomes a complete wallflower. I mean, it'd be good for her to stretch herself a little, but she's not going to get business when she's very uncomfortable in that situation.
Yeah, just a note too, that it's important that, you know, you give, right? So you're going to have a better chance of getting to be a referral source for someone that you are referring business to, right? So if I have a group of therapists that I'm constantly sending people to, they're going to be more likely to think of me when they meet somebody who's ready for a divorce mediation.
All right. Well, Jann, if you do 10 hours a week of networking groups, that must say that you didn't say that?
They don't all meet every week. So they meet once, some of them meet once a month,
Oh, okay.
Some of them, and I don't always go to everything. Like right now I'm really busy doing mediation. So I'm not, you know, they're voluntary other than my BNI group, you know. Okay. I just don't go if I don't have time.
I misunderstood. How many hours a week do you actually spend then, you think, on networking groups?
I don't like doing it virtually as much as in person, so probably not as much as I used to, but like I'm a really high energy person. So if I don't have something else on the calendar, I'll go to a networking meeting. You know, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours a week, maybe.
Okay. You enjoy it.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a people person. You really like it. Yeah. Anju, you're a people person. Do you like it?
I am, but I think I'm a more reserved person than Jann, but I'm going to at least one networking event a week online.
Okay. And something that's been really kind of exciting about the online is I've been able to go to other BNI chapters that I wouldn't have been able to go to. We've had people visit our BNI chapter from India, Israel, other parts of New Jersey. So it really, and it's been kind of fun too. Some of the organizations I'm a part of now, we're having these national networking meetings, which, you know, unless you were going to get on a plane and go to Las Vegas to a weekend conference, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So through COVID, I've been able to meet divorce professionals in other parts of the country, which has been really interesting and fun.
How do these groups break down by gender? Are they equally male, female, or are they mostly women?
I mean, I love my women's groups because I feel like women are really great at networking and supporting each other in business. So some of the ones I'm in are only women, but my B&I group is largely men, and it's Ridgewood Chamber. It depends on which meeting you go to. Some are more men, some are more women, some of them are equal.
That's
Yeah,
your
but yeah.
experience.
Yeah, the BNI groups tend to meet, 7 a.m. is and so for a lot of moms, 7 a.m. is very difficult. And so my BNI group was predominantly male.
Okay. We do have a question from Jody Davis, and she would like you, Jann, to list the groups that you belong to in Monmouth.
Would it be okay if Jody and I just talk after the meeting? Because that's going to take a lot of time for me to type.
That would be great.
Okay.
I'm sure that's fine. Okay, she would, yes. And she
Okay.
says, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So what's changed in these groups since COVID? They're all online, of course, but other than that, what's changed? Do you see more attendance? Do you see a wider group? Do you think you're getting more out of the groups now that they are all online?
I think it's a way to stay connected during this kind of strange time. And I think if your face is not in front of people on a regular basis, you're forgotten, unfortunately. You really have to make an effort to be there at least once a month and to have some sort of one-on-one with somebody, after whatever meeting you go to. I think if you just don't do it, you're going to kind of have to start all over again whenever this becomes, non-virtual world.
Anju?
Yeah, it is out of sight, out of mind. And so when they see you and they're hearing the word divorce, you want them to say, oh, Anju or Jann, and that, even just so that they can call and have a conversation. I might not be the right person. I might be making a referral to an attorney. And that's how I market myself. I'm a resource, right? I'm a member of NJAPM. I know 2/3 of our members are attorneys. I can make a good referral. It doesn't necessarily have to be me. If you need a mortgage broker, I have a list. So I'm keeping those lists because I'm making lots of referrals. I would say that, people think that I'm networking just for my own benefit, but it is the idea, and the BNI slogan is givers gain. And you do gain when you make a good referral, when someone's really in need of the right person. And so you want to be looked as a resource because then you're more likely to get the call when they are looking for a divorce mediator, but your name is out there. And every time they say your name, then they're going to remember you.
But has your amount of time spent on networking increased, stayed the same, or decreased?
It's increased a little bit because, for instance, with BW Nice, the women's networking group I'm involved with, I could never go to a Hudson breakfast. It's just, I live out near Hunterdon County. I'm not going to be driving to get to a 8 a.m. breakfast, but I can go to that Hudson meeting, and I want business in Hudson. So that's been pretty good. So I would say this, almost all the groups that I've been involved with, I went to before in person, except for Video Socials, which is the group that helps you make videos, which a few of us have gotten involved with. So it's not that different. In fact, they try and make the sound, the feel, the format the same.
So rank in-person networking, online networking, with the other types of marketing activities that you think mediators need to do to create their practice. And that, Jann, you have more recent experience because you're only in the business 5 years. And then we'll go to you, Anju. How would you rank them when you started? And how would you rank them now that you have been in business so long, everybody knows you? So Jann, let's start with you.
I would say that 20 years ago when I first started in business, networking was crucial, especially in a sensitive topic like divorce. People feel like they need to know you and trust you if they're going to refer you to their sister who's going to go through a divorce. I feel like recently, I would say in the last 3 years, that absolutely crucial that you have a wonderful website that people can relate to, absolutely crucial that you have a professional video on your website, absolutely crucial that you get Google reviews and have them you know, in the Google review, as well as if people don't want to, if they want to be more anonymous on your website. Everybody that calls me says, I watched your video, I felt like you were somebody that would be kind and would be helpful. Or I read your reviews, and recently someone said, I read your reviews and I liked it that you had a lot of men, because I'm trying to look for somebody that, you know, will be more neutral. So in today's world, especially in the current state of the world, I think, you know, you got to spend the money to have a good website. You got to spend the money to have somebody, you know, set up social media sites for you, be posting things, ask people for reviews. It's crucial. But you know, I said before, you really have to do it all. People need to know who you are. They need to kind of know your brand. If someone finds you online and then they ask somebody, you know, do you know this person? If they're in the divorce world and they know you personally and they can vouch for you, it all works together.
But it would still be at the bottom of your list, I guess, for networking. The other ones are way at the top. Is that right?
In the current world.
Yes.
But I've also been in the divorce business for 20 years. So a lot of people know me, you know, especially in the Bergen County area.
They knew it through your prior professions.
Because I was always working with people going through divorce. I was just doing insurance or financial planning, and then I became a certified divorce financial analyst and then a mediator. So a lot of lawyers have known me because I've been helping people with life insurance or health insurance or something like that post-divorce.
And when you're looking at all these activities that you do, are you looking at them sort of like on a return on time basis? You know, I'm going to spend most of my time in the things that generate more business for me, and less time or no time in the things that relatively small effect on the amount of business? Or do you do things just because you like them too?
Well, but my in order of priority, I mean, right now I'm really busy doing divorce mediations. That's my number one priority, the business, right? Doing the work. So because I'm probably twice as busy doing mediations right now than I was 6 months ago when this all started. So I'm obviously, the networking and everything else is going to go on the side, because if I'm getting the business and I'm doing the mediations, then I don't have time or interest to be on another Zoom thing when I've been, you know, if I've done 3 mediations that day. So.
Anju, how about you?
Well, first of all, I give Jann a lot of kudos because she's well known. I have a cousin in Bergen County who's primarily an immigration lawyer. She does some divorce and some work. So, you know, Jann is very networked in Bergen County and does a good job. I think I agree with Jann that your web presence is really your number one goal. And that's not just your own website, but it's being on LinkedIn, being on Facebook, and having a consistent message on those sites. I think it's also challenging if you're in 2 different businesses that are unrelated, that you can sometimes have a conflict. Sometimes when I go to these networking groups and someone says, I'm a realtor and I also sell Arbonne, it's like, that's kind of confusing to me. So you really have to have one message, and they can be consistent. I mean, you can do financials, you can be mediation, that's in the same line of work. But sometimes people have so many multiple lines of business, it's confusing to the public. And so you have to be careful in how you present yourself, because people go on Google and they're really looking at what you do. So really having a good presence on the internet, making sure you don't have any bad reviews. And if you have a bad review, then you've got to dilute it by getting 10 good reviews so that the one person who put a bad review looks like, you know, they're a disgruntled client. I also think that what Jann is saying is good. You know, your word is your bond. So if you're not servicing your clients or if you're in a volunteer organization and you're not making your commitment to your other people who volunteer, that's bad marketing. I mean, really, you know, your product is your ultimate, asset when you're marketing. So providing good service is really important. In terms of how do I measure, I think you have to be careful in terms of metrics. You know, when you go to BNI, they're always talking about how much business you got, as if all the other reasons you might join are less important. So you've got to develop your reason for being in every group. It could be I'm in NJAPM because I need to learn about recent events. I want to know what's going on in family law. I want to know if there's some change, right? I can't keep up with that by myself. So it's not necessarily that I'm just looking for leads or referrals in some networking groups. I'm looking for learning or education. But you have to have a reason for it. It could be return on relationship. If I'm in a women's networking and on Facebook, someone's looking for a mediator, and 5 of my, women's networkings, people say, hey, Anju is great. That's great return on relationship, right? They didn't give me a lead, but they promoted me. So I think it's hard when you start using a metric that may have less meaning than you think. I mean, if at the end of the month or the year, you're telling just how many leads did I get from this group, I think that's kind of not the right measure.
Let me go back to something you said about websites. Say you're a therapist and you have a website, and now you're doing mediation. Do you think it's appropriate to combine the two into one website?
Sure, I think it's fine because you're dealing with people in conflict, families in conflict, and you can talk about how, having worked with so many families, you've seen the deleterious effects of divorce and you can work with them. I think the challenge is, if you're a therapist, how you establish your credibility in the financial areas. And so you've got to make an extra effort to show that you have expertise beyond the therapy area if you're mediating all aspects of a divorce. There's a tendency to think that, hey, mental health professionals good with parenting, but what are they going to know about taxes? So, just be cognizant that when you position yourself one way, you have to overcome that. For instance, because I'm not a lawyer, I have to show on my website, even though I don't have, I'm not a lawyer, I have a great deal of knowledge of case law, and I teach lawyers, I teach judges. And so I understand that from the client perspective. What objections are they going to have to choosing you as a mediator when they read your background or they see those 2 different professions on one site? But I still think, so long as it's not completely not related, it's better to put them, because people get confused too when they're going in on the web and finding you in 15 different places in different professions.
Jann, would you agree with that?
Yes, but I actually have 2 websites, because at the time when I became mediation trained, I was investment advisor and licensed to invest people's money. So when you're an investment advisor, you have a lot of strict compliance, and they allowed my mediation practice to be an outside business activity, which I was actually very happy about because I was able to market however I wanted. So I ran out of Ken's training program out of Manhattan, straight to a marketing team, hired somebody to build a second website. And, that was all about mediation. So I still have the 2 websites. My TLC financial site is where I send people who need individual health insurance quotes and things like that. But when they land there, they see that I also do divorce work, divorce financial planning and mediation. So sometimes that actually helps me a little bit too, because somebody who's buying insurance from me might then say, oh, wait a sec, you're also a mediator. My friend is looking for somebody. So it sometimes helps me with cross-selling. But I think if I wasn't licensed to sell investments at the time, I probably would have just done one.
Do you consider doing this webinar a marketing activity?
Not necessarily.
Anju?
No, I don't think so. I think it's helpful for an educational point of view. It may help sell the NJAPM 40-hour divorce class, which is something that I do promote.
I just want to add one thing too that I find with networking, especially the women's groups, when you're new as a business owner, there's so much to learn about, what should I set my fee at, and should I use credit cards, and, how to get people to pay. And a lot of these things that, when you're an entrepreneurial business owner, you may not have ever had that experience before. So that's another thing that I find networking to be helpful, is I'm working with other business owners and I'm hearing what's working for them and what's not working for them. They're a good sounding board, which, most of us are independent. So I don't have my own board of directors, but some of my people that I've known for a long time in networking, I really trust them. They become friends and really trusted advisors. And I go to them when I'm like, how do you think I should market this? Or how do you think I should handle this? Or what do you think about this idea? And that's another piece of networking that's I find to be really helpful.
Now, Jann, you said that your business has really increased recently. Why do you think that is?
Because people have been stuck in their house with their spouse for 6 months.
And
they don't have the gym to go to, and they can't go see their boyfriend or girlfriend. I mean, I think it's just been too much.
Anju, you're experiencing the same thing, aren't you?
I have been really busy. I mean, there are nights I'm up till 2 in.the morning because I'm a solo. So sometimes I'm, trying to get that MOU done. And then, in the beginning when COVID happened, I had a lot of free time. Now, I want to just say, I agree with Jann on the website. I'm much more thrifty about how I spend my dollars, but we tell all new mediators, you have to have a website. Don't sweat it. Get a mediocre website to start, but just get it launched. You're not going to get business without a website. Networking alone without a website is a waste of time, because people want a website to refer to when they send a referral to someone. Okay. So get that website up and populate it with information.
So is the new mantra on that, you not only have to have a website, you have to have a video on your website. Is that right?
I don't know. I think video is interesting.
So Jann, how did you get your video?
Well, one of my networking groups I was a part of, a woman had started a business, professional videos, and I had a one-on-one with her, and I was trying to help her because she was just launching her business, and she offered to give me a great deal on some professional videos, which then helped her get more business with the group. So I think it is important, if you're going to do a video, that it's not you on your cell phone in your bathroom, videoing yourself or on the beach with your hair all over the place. I mean, we're professionals, and people are looking for something about your personality that they think will put them at ease in some way or help them through this sensitive process. So I think when people can get a glimpse of who you are from a 60-second video, sometimes it's the clincher. I've had people say to me, my wife and I sat down and we watched 3 videos and we picked you.
That's great. I have a question, and then I'm going to go back to something that you said before. How much should a person expect to pay for a video?
Who are you asking?
Jann.
There is a very large range, really large range. It's crazy. Some people pay a ridiculous amount of money to get a website. Some people pay barely nothing. I've had people who are marketing people agree to do the website for free if they can be your monthly marketing person and get a fee monthly. So it's a really, really large range, huge.
Yeah, I really want to know just about the video. How about just getting a video done to put on?
I think you could find someone to do it for you for $200.
$200. Oh, okay. That's very reasonable. I think.
Yeah.
But they're not going to compare what's in the video. You have to do that, or they help you with that as well, content?
They'll work with you. Come think beforehand what the questions are going to be. They might even ask you the questions from behind the camera, but they just edit it later, so you're not hearing them ask you the questions. I mean, I get a little bit nervous when I'm in front of a camera, so it's helpful to me if somebody's asking me the questions, or I know it can be edited later.
Right. Would you share the information of the person that did yours?
Sure.
Okay. So if anyone wants to know, just send Jann an email.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about anything that I'm saying, I'm more than happy to have a phone conversation. Just find me at my website for TLC is tlcmediation.com. if you Google Jann Catto in Wyckoff or Red Bank, you would probably find it. And I'm more than happy. People call me all the time that find me on the web and ask me, you know, what is mediation as a career? I'm thinking about doing the training, you know, should I let go of my day job? Like, people find me randomly online, and I'm more than happy to try to help or answer questions as honestly as I can.
Okay. Here's a question we have that came over the Q&A. My partner and I just started our practice in 2018. We've been invited to join a number of business networking groups in New York and New Jersey, mostly with substantial fees. Do you find such groups effective? Any specific advice for starters? I think we've covered a lot of that, but.
The best groups that I've been a part of, meaning that I've gotten the most business from, have probably been zero cost or under 300 a year.
Okay.
But BNI is expensive when you're going in person. Their room fees and their quarterly fees.
BNI is not needed. There's so many other options. Honestly, I wouldn't start with BNI. I'd find your local chamber of commerce or a women's group. And I just want to add too, like, the other thing, and Anju talked about this before, but the moms groups are so powerful. And I'm not on some of these moms groups, but I know a lot of people in the area. So if somebody goes on a moms group Facebook page and says, I'm looking to get divorced, and 5 people give my name, I get 20 calls. They are so powerful. You do not ever want anyone to say anything bad about you on a moms group. You will be out of business.
You will be. You will be. The 100 Moms group will, you know, they will kill a business.
Yeah.
There's a local dino that they just went crazy because they were unkind to someone's child with autism in our area. So be really careful with the moms group.
Yeah. So I don't even know, like, somebody, all of a sudden my phone's ringing and I'm like, what's going on? And then someone will say, oh, I saw your name on a Facebook page. Okay.
So you've both had a big increase in business. Is this business that you've gotten, or a large part of the increase, outside your normal geographic area that would have applied if you were doing in person? In other words, are you drawing clients now from afar?
I think that's a little bit hard to answer because, first of all, I'm not even asking them where they are anymore. It doesn't matter. I used to ask, you want to go to Red Bank or Wyckoff? But it's also because people are displaced, you know, like, people are living all over the place. And if they were living together as a couple and it got too stressful being in quarantine, they may have gone to their parents' house in another state. I mean, I don't know. People are all over the place when they're in these virtual mediations with me, but I don't know if that's because that's where they just happen to be right now because of COVID, or, you know, it doesn't matter where your address is anymore.
Well, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Is that, are you drawing clients from a broader geographic region because geography doesn't matter anymore?
I think so. And I'm actually trying to tweak my marketing to encourage that.
Right. Anju, what do you think?
I think the majority of my clients are still coming from places where I have an office. Although what's interesting is, as Jann said, people have been displaced. So I've had a client where one person has moved out of state and the other person's in New Jersey. And so Zoom has made it easier to mediate those clients that have that geographical distance, which should, in the past, I would have insisted at least the first session be done in person. But I still am getting the majority of my business from at least them having been in my geographic area.
Are you doing anything on your website or in other marketing to try to get clients outside your geographic area?
I don't really want people outside of New Jersey because I'm not an attorney, and, you know, I don't know, it makes me nervous to think about.
I didn't mean outside of state. I just meant outside. But let's say when I was practicing, I found that very few clients would go more than a half an hour, 40 minutes to come to my office to do divorce mediation. I mean, there were lots of other places they could go. That's not true with online because it doesn't take any time. So are you doing anything to try to attract that clientele, either through your website or any other way?
I'm trying. I'm talking to my marketing team about that now, and how do we set up the SEO so that wherever you are in New Jersey, you would find me.
Okay. I would think that would be important, because if you're not going to do it, let me assure you other people will be, right? So it's going to be very competitive. What do you think about that, Anju?
If my dance card is nearly full, I'm not really hungry. So I would say that I want business, but I don't want so much business. So it's always a balance. And it's almost like when the cup is 3/4 full, I'm not going to be trying to expand and marketing it, but I'm going to continue doing my presence. I don't want to drop off what I'm doing, but I don't see that need right now. I mean, what's that, from my ego that I get more cases in, Mercer County? That's not going to really help me. I've got limited number of hours I want to work.
Okay.
And
So you're
I'm
not
one person.
you're not the normal person, though, as far as having a dance card that is completely full. Most mediators are not in that situation. So, do you use Facebook? Do you use Instagram? Jann?
I have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I don't use Instagram, and I have an assistant who does the posts for me.
Anju?
I use the same ones that Jann does. I have a personal Instagram account. I don't use it very much. But, I do find that, with Facebook, being on these different sites, local sites, is very helpful. You want to know what's being said. You also want to be able to give referrals to other specialists that you can. So it's not only about you getting business, but making a good referral when you know someone is good. So someone's looking for a family law attorney, I'm constantly providing names of people. You have to be careful with that too, because if you're networked into quite a few of them, they will notice if you gave one person's name and not the other. So you try and give a couple of names, right? It's, just like you would be offended if someone asked family law attorney for the name of a mediator and your name didn't come up. So you have to be really cautious in how you post or how you give information that you don't offend as well. It's so easy to offend.
So Anju, the 40-hour divorce mediation training course is coming up soon. You teach the marketing segment. How are you going to revise the marketing segment in view of COVID?
I don't think I'm changing it that much. I mean, we're now including a segment that on how to mediate over Zoom. I think that's going to be more of a stretch than the marketing. I think marketing is not changed. You adapt to doing things online, but you still need those personal relationships. You still need that online presence. I actually think that we took a huge leap when we were teaching marketing around 2005, 2006, when we went with that, the time when websites became essential. And so that was a point. And then about 5 years later, it became not just websites, but being in LinkedIn and Twitter and so forth. And so I don't know that we're at that point again where there's a turning point in marketing. So we'll see.
Let's say we're in the middle of next year and hopefully we have a vaccine and we can go all about our business. I think that's very hopeful, but let's say it is. You think that mediation, divorce mediation, is going to go back to almost exclusively an in-person model?
Not for me. I'm going to really encourage people to do it virtually. I think it's been so much better. I'm so happy that I got forced to do this, because I've been getting people from the first meeting to their memorandum of understanding in 3 weeks doing it this way. It's crazy. So much more efficient, so much safer, so much better use of time. I love it. I'm always going to offer it, and I'm going to encourage everybody to do this, even if the world ever goes back to whatever it was before.
Anju?
The people who are getting divorced 2 years from now haven't gotten divorced before, or didn't get divorced during COVID. So they're going to be looking for a different experience. Some people will want to do it by Zoom. The people who call and say, do we have to sit in the same room? Those people are going to be perfect for Zoom. Other people will really want to meet in person. So it's going to be a new world when things open up. I can see my business being somewhere between 40 and 60% online going forward, but I'm also seeing in person, especially 5-way meetings. I see those when, and I do quite a few 5-way meetings with attorneys and the clients. So that's why we have Jim Malamud speaking at our annual conference. He's going to talk about where the future of mediation is, not to promote an NJAPM event, but at our annual conference on November 14th, I think he is the person who has his pulse on what's going on in more than anyone else. I think Jann is agreeing about that from mediate.com. We're all conjecturing. I don't know that any of us know, but it will definitely be a different world. It's not going away. It's going to be there. It's here to stay.
Okay. So we only have a few minutes left. What advice do you have for new mediators with respect to this type of marketing, whether it be in-person networking or group networking? Jann, why don't you start?
I think it's really important. I had this experience myself. So when I got trained and I joined this group, a lot of people kind of said, well, keep your day job or make sure you still sell insurance because you're probably not going to be able to, really make enough money doing mediation. And I was like, sorry, I'm not buying that. That is unacceptable to me. Half of the people in this country are getting divorced, and this is a better way to do it. So I think you do have to have that mindset that, you are unstoppable and you can really make a difference in people's lives. That it starts there. Because if you keep telling yourself, oh, no mediator makes enough money to, support themselves, or, nobody has a full-time practice of mediation, then there's absolutely no way that it's going to happen. You have to believe that you have something important to offer and be confident and do what you've got to do to get that business off the ground. Because I think people just so easily make excuses about this.
Anju?
Jann has a very good attitude towards marketing, but my experience of having taught many new mediators is they kind of drag their feet into the idea of marketing. It's not something that they enjoy. And so I think it's a business, and your business is going to be successful the more you invest in terms of effort. And in the beginning, when you're starting your marketing practice, think of it as a 40-hour job. If you're not mediating, then you should be putting those hours into marketing. But I always start with the idea you need a marketing plan on how you're going to get there. And if you don't have the plan, then you're not going to get there. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. I think that was a Yogi Berra thing, right? So you got to figure out where you want to go and then how you're going to get there and what you're going to need to do. But some of that is easy. You look at what other mediators are doing and saying, oh, look, I want to practice like Jann's, or I want to practice like Anju's, or I want to practice like you look at someone else who may be an attorney mediator and say, I'd like to practice like theirs, where maybe mediation's a third of their practice because they really want to continue their law practice or their mental health practice. You're not creating the wheel here. Figure out what you want your practice to look like and figure out how you can get there. And you can copy a lot of what other people are doing in terms of strategy. Jann's talked about what she's involved with. So, the business is, the information is there for the taking. It's not like when we first started, you'd have to read people's brochures. Everyone's got websites you can see, and they all tell you what they're involved with.
Let's see. This is a question from Tony Prinzo. Jann, do you keep track of your return on marketing by item, Facebook, website, etc.?
I only track where somebody got my name from and before, if they were a Red Bank or a Wyckoff client. So okay. I don't think so. I think the social media sites, I think they're important because it shows if you have something that's been posted in the last week, it shows that you're in business. But I don't think, other than a mom's group, I don't think I really get new business from the social media. I think it's just sort of a business card in the world of the cloud. I think the website, yes, I get business because someone lands on my website and they watch a video or they read the reviews and then they call. And that's another thing that's really important. Answer your phone right away, because they are going to go to the next 5 people on the list. So I try to answer my phone. If I'm not in a meeting, I'm answering my phone. And I have some phone systems that the person will get a text message from me if I'm not answering the phone. And I find that that's been a little bit helpful too, because people feel a little bit quicker responded to, and then they can send me a text or leave me a voicemail. But nobody doesn't get a return call that day. I try to return calls ASAP, because they just go on to the next person on the list.
Any last words, Anju?
Don't be discouraged if you're just starting out. I mean, I know that there are people who are just launching their practices and keep at it. You've got to get that first client. And it took me 6 months to get my first client when I opened my practice. But then, then you will see the growth. But you got a name out there. You're branding yourself. So it takes a while for you to get known in your community. That's where the networking, the social media comes in. You want to be known as that divorce lady, right? Call Anju, she's all about divorce.
Right.
Is that your
Jann?
tagline, Anju?
No.
She's a little divorce.
I actually mediated the person who delivers my mail,
I did that too. Red Bank.
Yeah, isn't it? But she was a little shocked when she came to my office. She said, "Oh yeah, I deliver your mail." I said, "Well, sometimes it happens." Oh yeah, you're the divorce lady.
Jann,
the mail person chose me because he knew that I was there.
Jann, any last words?
No, I just think mindset is really important to, just say every day, like, I'm going to make this work and it's going to be successful, and I have skills that are helpful, and the world needs them. Like, I think you got to start there, and then, go to networking groups. If you're not busy that day with actual money-making activities, then go to networking groups. I mean, I went to networking groups morning, noon, and night when I moved to Monmouth County, because I didn't know anyone, and my husband took a job that was 2.5 hours away, so I didn't even have him. So I went to breakfast, lunch, happy hour, dinner, but I met like 3,000 people in the first year, and my business is rocking and rolling there. So
how does your husband feel about all this networking you do?
Well, he didn't like it when I was like spending half the week in Bergen County and half the week in Monmouth County, but now I'm networking in my pajamas out of my bedroom.
Right. Anju, what does your husband feel about your network?
Well, when I first started my practice, he was actually much more supportive. I mean, we went to Parents Without Partners meetings. We went line dancing at one of these meetings as I was launching my practice. He wants to know why I'm not retiring now, because he wants to retire. So that's a different conversation, but it's not happening. So,
I mean, I've gotten my husband business from my networking. So he does like that too.
Okay. So one of the reasons to be in a networking group is you have people who are enthusiastic about their business, and that helps too. Don't look to your spouse for affirmation about whether you should be in business or not in business, and especially if you're, a group where everyone's excited about their business, it makes you excited about your business as well. So that is another side benefit of being in a networking group. So so spousal support, no spousal support for your business, it's what you want to do, and live your dream.
On that humorous note, I want to thank both of you for a very enjoyable, almost an hour, we're 2 minutes short, but almost an hour. I think it was very good. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Let me also mention to people who are still watching, next week we have our first mock divorce mediation, which is next Monday, same time, same place. The week after that, the 28th, we have the 3rd edition of Tech Time with Lawrence and Carl. The first Monday of October, we're having our first of our CLE webinar series, which are free to people who don't want CLEs. So those notices, one notice has gone out about that and another one will be going on. And the following week, the 12th of October, we're having a show on a web PowerPoint, how to create them and how to deliver them. And that's going to be, I think, very good. So I'll see you every Monday, it seems like, from now till whenever.
Carl, we're also giving CPE credits for your 7 series.
That's what you've told me. So yes, yes, you're handling it. So yes, that's true. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Have a great week. And thank you again, Jann and Anju.
Thank you very much for your work.
Stay safe,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.